Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 93. Today I'm also probably going to be launching my first vlog, which is going to be on my off channel probably, because it's mostly featuring business life, entrepreneurship life, coaching life, travel life, and stories. So it's going to be more like a vlog. It's just not going to be esports centered. So you can check that out here if you want. Now on with the show. The first question I have today is from Suryush. I think this is it's not a repeat question, but it's a repeat questioner. Nice to see you again, guy. And he asks, I don't want to switch roles every time I like something else. I want to be competitive and win as my main role. What should I do? First of all, join my mailing list, and I think the third email, maybe the second email, probably the third, because the first one is like, welcome to my list. Third email is a video about motivation. And I talk about this concept. And basically the idea goes like this. You want to focus on your main role because you want to, I don't know, climb, or you want to learn, you want to feel satisfied there. And you want to switch it up and play other things because you want to stay interested and you want to have fun. So what do you want to do more? Well, the one you want to do more is the one that you do more. Does that make sense? So if you cannot stick to your main role and you don't get satisfaction out of that, and instead you like switch roles all the time because you like to have fun and be stimulated, then what you want, what you're motivated by, is that kind of entertainment and the switching roles and that kind of like appeasement of yourself. It's like kind of like eating candy. Like you might not want to eat candy, but if you do eat candy, then that means you want candy more than you want to not eat candy. Does that make sense? So there are some things that are controlled by willpower, such as wanting things. There are some things that are outside of that scope, and that is like drugs. Like you can not want to do heroin and be addicted to it, but below chemical dependencies, a lot of what we do is basically essentially guided by the fact that we live in a society where it's fairly easy to survive and be normally functioning with a wide variety of choices, which means that you have approximately the same life whether you stick to your normal role or whether you switch every time. So it's not that big of a difference, and so you just don't have the motivation because it's not what you really want. Now, if you do really want it, then you will do that. If you really, really want to climb and stick to your role and feel that grind and you want to be satisfied with the mastery of a single champion or a single like section of champions, then you will do it. Now there are steps you can take to kind of decide like, okay, well I don't want that, but I want the result of it. I don't want that thing. I don't want the actual climb, but I want to be high ranked, or I want to be challenger. I want to be like a mid laner. So now we're talking about sacrifice in order to achieve something that you want that's later down the road. But the thing, the actual doing of it, it appears that you don't want to do that. You would rather do the other thing, right? It means you don't want to stick with one champion. You want to have diversity and have fun. So you have to decide, what do you want more? Do you appreciate and enjoy the enjoyment of like flopping around and playing different roles and just having fun with the game? Or do you really want more than that? Do you want to be, this high-ranked person as fast as possible? Because, by the way, you can get there by switching roles and doing stuff. You can learn the game that way. You're just not going to climb as fast as if you stick to one thing that you're mastering. That's all. So if you want it faster and you want it now, then you have to start sacrificing. You have to say, okay, well, I'm not going to enjoy this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to grind. I'm going to set aside temporary enjoyment for long-term enjoyment. And that's a decision that a lot of different like tools can help you with. Psychological tools, life tools, various other kind of tools. Things like my Mac program, mindgames.gg/Mac. Things like opposite action, where when you feel something that you don't want to do, or feel something that you want to do, and you know that it's like leading you astray, then you do the opposite thing. You just switch to the other thing instead. I hope that helps. Make sure to get on my mailing list and check out that second or the third video there that you see. Okay, on to the next question. Next question is from Lionheart. KJ. Why did you stick the KJ at the end there? Lionheart was so good. Maybe it was taken already on Twitter. And they ask, hey Weldon, what is your nutritional plan and workout schedule to stay at peak performance? Okay, you don't want to know my nutritional plan because I had pizza today. So it's the off season, it's the post season. I am mostly sleeping in, taking care of kids, and shooting vlogs all day. So my nutritional plan is like off of the train tracks. But in about 3 weeks, I should be landing in Berlin for a little stint, 2 or 3 weeks. And when I get there, or actually probably even when I get back to Finland next week, I'm going to jump back onto my nutritional train track and take the bamboo cart all the way to the end of the line. So for that, I'll talk about like the ideal nutritional plan, okay? But it's not what I'm doing today because although I am drinking a smoothie right now, I don't actually think the smoothies are that healthy for you unless they're green smoothies, in which case you just eat a salad and get all the fiber anyway. They're like mostly loaded with, let's see, 59 grams of carbohydrate, 48 grams of sugars in the form of fructose, probably mostly, since it's no sugar added, and dietary fibers, 6 grams. So this is essentially 42 grams of sugar, which is the same as 2 Snickers bars of sugar. And although it's not sucrose and it's fructose, the biggest difference between those two is that sucrose basically goes straight into the bloodstream and then is transmitted either to the liver or picked up by insulin and stripped out into triglycerides and lipid molecules, or fructose, which goes through the intestinal tract and gets shuttled to the liver first and then distributed in your bloodstream, so ends up in the same place anyway. Sorry to inform you. That's why high fructose corn syrup is such a big deal. It's not because fructose isn't bad for you. It's just a different way into the body because it's a more complex molecule. Yeah, by the way, sucrose, I believe, is like is like a half and half, like half fructose, half glucose, I believe. Anyway, I might be wrong on that. I kind of forget. It's been like 4 years since I was looking at that chain. But anyway, yeah, smoothies not that healthy for you in terms of trying to lower your insulin response and thus your body fat, but packed with vitamins usually. Anyway, long tangent. Let's get back to the main track. What is a nutrition plan and workout schedule to stay at peak performance? For me, it looks something like this. For breakfast, I like to eat eggs, basically straight protein. I don't really like to eat carbohydrates in the morning if I can help it at all. That means either packed sardine fillets or like whitefish fillets, some sort of like fish low on the food chain, and or eggs is ideal. Then for lunch, I want to eat like the biggest salad possible. Tons and tons and tons and tons of plants. As many plants as I can stuff in my mouth. And then I try to throw something on top of that to make me feel full, whether it's like cheese or fish or cheese and fish or whatever. And then for dinner, I just kind of eat whatever I want, whatever's most convenient. Usually there's going to be starches in there like potatoes and maybe a little bit of bread. Probably not though. And then usually in the evening, I try to like drink a smoothie or something like late at night to satiate my hunger. And if I can bear it, I just drink water then and make it all the way. So I'm a snacker. I eat like every 2 to 3 hours or so. And so I need to like mix in some healthy snacks in there. My wife just eats 3 square meals, just like meal, no snacks. So it depends on kind of like your personality, how that fits with you. Workout routine, I am all over the place. Sometimes I do strong lifts, sometimes I do yoga, sometimes I do bodyweight fitness, and I basically am like jog and lift. Some sort of mixture of jogging and lifting with mobility mixed in, because I'm older than 30, so mobility is like really important for people as they age, especially me. For peak performance in esport, it's going to be mostly related to hip health and then some sort of aerobic activity. Sorry to say to all the lifters, but aerobic activity has a much more drastic impact on cognition in more recent studies. So you're going to be wanting to look at things like distance running or distance cycling as a way to kind of improve your coping and your learning. Lifting though, big thumbs up. Much better than doing nothing, for sure. Okay, next question is from Noise Boy. And they ask, I've been trying to improve my play recently, and I've been practicing, but I haven't gotten any results yet. Any tips? Trying to improve my play recently, and I've been practicing. Okay, so you've been practicing. Results, I'm assuming LP gains, or you mean improvement? If you haven't gotten results, it could be because you're either not practicing correctly, which is possible, or you're not tracking the right kind of results. So you could be tracking wins, and you could be practicing how to be better in lane. Those two are not connected very directly. So when you play a game of League of Legends, you're 1/10 of the equation of if you're going to win the game or not. Okay? So your skill level does influence the victory condition, but your immediate small improvements are not reflected in that except in the long term. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of games. So you got to play a lot of games. Therefore, if you are practicing something and you're looking for immediate kind of feedback, you need to track different variables than win and loss, because the impact is negligible there. You need to look at things like, unless you're practicing leadership and strategy of the game in 20 minutes, in which case like that's kind of where you win and lose the game. So what you want to look at is ways of tracking exactly the thing that you're practicing, whether it's laning phase or whether it's leadership or whether it's macro strategy. Find out paint a picture. What does it look like to be better at this in your head? And then find a way of analyzing that. And usually it's by watching your plays.tv or the VOD of your game, which I think plays.tv is one of the best ways of looking at that. Maybe after Riot comes out with a replay system, that'll change. But you look at your replay of your game and you kind of critique yourself and you say, oh yeah, I did this better. Or I only failed 4 times instead of 7 times, which is improvement. Okay, next question is from Arturi Mantila, which is a Finnish name, and that's why I knew how to pronounce it. Arturi Mantila. And they ask, how should I go through my VODs? How do I get the most benefit out of the gameplay? Should I just focus on my own decisions? You should go through your VODs for 2 reasons. 1, to steal strategy from the opponents and other people who are beating you, if you think that they're better than you. And number 2, to look at yourself, look at your own play and your own decisions. So, let me ask you, do you really, let's say you're gold 5. I don't know what rank you are, Mantilla. Sorry if I just made up that rank, but let's say you're gold 5. Do you really want to look at your gold 5 opponents for how to play the game at the best level? No. You want to watch streams of pros for that. You want to watch the best possible teams to steal their strategy and the best possible players to steal how it is that they play. For your VODs, therefore, mostly what you're going to be looking at is how you played and your decisions. You're going to be critiquing them against the metric of a pro. You're going to be critiquing them against the metric of whatever model you have inside your head, and that model inside your head has to come from the best possible version of your champion that you could play, or of your team composition that you could play. So have that model in your head, look at your VOD, and critique your decision making based on that ideal. Make sense? Good. And by the way, you should spend about 5 to 10 minutes after each game fast forwarding through the laning phase and just watching every key decision. Every single time. That's just really habitual. And then if you really want to look at like your whole game, just look at the key moments where you remember making really good decisions or really bad decisions. You don't need to look like through the entire game. Usually you do that when you're trying to steal strategy from somebody. When you're reviewing your own VODs, you can hop and skip and jump. Okay, next question is a repeat question from our first questioner, Sirius. Is taking a break, but keeping up with the meta by watching streams a viable option when you want to go hard next season? Sure. Depends on your goals. I mean, if your goal is to get as good as possible as soon as possible, then you should be training all the time. The only reason you wouldn't train in the off season is if you don't actually care about your ultimate rank and you just care about optimizing your ladder rank. And you feel like, oh, but they're going to reset the ladder and then I'm going to lose all my rank. So that means you care about this kind of abstract construct of your skill level instead of your internal here skill level. So this is the kind of thing that let's say you're on a pro team and you realize you can't make playoffs and then everybody's training like drops in quality. Well, that would never happen on one of my teams because we don't train based on our objectives in the next match we're playing. We train based on our objectives of internal skill level. We try to get better every single day. If you don't want to do that, then don't come to training. So that's kind of like the idea of mastery that we have. And of course, we're layering that with competitiveness, trying to win the next game. But my point is, if you're not playing in the off season because the ladder's going to reset, which is kind of the undertone I'm getting here, then your objective is not your internal skill level. Your objective is you don't want to waste your time, or anyway, that's what you value. You don't value your skill level. So if your goal is to kind of like get better slowly and play and have fun and optimize your time, then you can do whatever you want. If your goal is to get to the highest level as soon as possible, then you should be training all the time. You should take breaks when you lack motivation, and you should study, but those breaks shouldn't be more than like a week or two. Weeks and weeks and weeks of rest is only going to make you rusty. It's not going to make you magically better at the League of Legends. I mean, you can, if you want to get better and study macro, study that while training, or just cut it half and half, or just study your own VODs to learn the meta, while you're also kind of like watching pros. Yeah, that's my suggestion. Okay, next final question from that Derek, and he asks, in your experience, has it been more challenging to train esport athletes? I assume this is in opposition to traditional sport athletes, and the answer is yes, because in traditional sports I can run drills. I can like creatively tear apart the game into mechanisms that I know are fundamental, build those blocks together like the base layer of a pyramid, and then put the next ones on and run those drills, and then put the next ones on and run those drills. That's impossible in League of Legends. It's not impossible in esport, but it's impossible in League of Legends right now. So I'm looking forward to a day when coaching makes even more of a difference than it does now. Of course, coaches are responsible for a team's performance, even at this point in the game, because of how it is they unify the strategic direction of the team. But in terms of the creative ability to like build a pyramid of performance, it's nearly impossible right now for a coach to have kind of any impact in that regard, because you can't create drills that represent what you believe are the fundamental building blocks of the game. So in that way, it's way easier to train esport athletes, and it's way more easier to train traditional sport athletes. Way more challenging to figure out how to do that in a scrimmage environment, which is mostly involved with like trying to get people to focus on certain building blocks at a time. But then there's all of these other factors that go into the game that distract from that impact. All right, that's the show for today. Thanks for stopping by. Remember that the Ask Weldon show is sponsored by me. You can check out my website, mindgames.gg/MAC, Mindfulness Acceptance Commitment. That is my training program, and it is $25, really cheap right now. If you go there and it's not $25, it's because you're watching this VOD in the future, and the program has gone from version 3 to version 4, and the price has gone up. So get it now if you like that price, and you want to keep it. You get grandfathered in, obviously, for all iterations and future versions of this program. Like I said, it's version 3.1 actually, 3.01 as of this morning, because I updated about 6 to 7 worksheets in the program that were lost before. But it's essentially good for performance life and the life of dedication. So if you remember the very first question that I answered in the show today, it was about how do I know if I want something or I want something else and I can't do the things that will take me to my ultimate goal. So am I really motivated by it? And the answer is, if you're motivated by wanting the thing but the path is difficult, that's what the math program is all about. If you want the good grade but the studying is hard, mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. If you want to be an elite athlete but the path is hard, mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. If you want a good relationship but the path is hard, mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. If you want an Olympic gold but you want days off in the next 4 years, not going to happen, mindfulness, acceptance, commit yourself. So how do you take the path and do it when you don't feel like it so that you can get the final result? That is what MAC is all about. And sign up for my list, my mailing list down below. You will get basically a weekly digest of kind of all the cool stuff that I've discovered on the internet. Things like my vlogging setup right there. Things like cool videos that I found about performance, cool strategies that I discovered, any tools that I discovered related to esport psychology, coaching, performance, and just basically my week encapsulated in an email in terms of delivering to you a nice curated bullet point list of cool stuff to peer through. And in the meanwhile, I'm storing those up, so you won't fall behind if you don't sign up right now, or if you're like, oh shoot, I missed weeks and weeks and weeks of this. No, you didn't. I'm adding them to it, so you will get also in a sequence of days all the stuff that came before, and then you'll keep getting updated with the new stuff as well. Check that out. And finally, a 5-minute journal, which is the #1 tool that I recommend and use for the easiest way to improve your resilience, and you can find a link for that down below. Thanks guys for tuning in. See you next time.
Hey guys, I just want to encourage you to follow me on Snapchat so you can keep track of all of the cool adventures that I have in places like Korea, where we're training right now, and so that you can ask me questions and follow along with kind of behind the scenes of high performance coaching.